do you guys give me if I kill that bird?
Barbara, that's a bald eagle.
Get away, Baldy! Yeah!
Yo! Good evening, and good evening. This is The Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GubsRadio.com. We are live here tonight on many different places, in many different ways. Let's start by where we're at, because we very rarely mention that. Here we go. Tonight, we are live on Facebook on the Gubs Comedy Club radio channel. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. It's the same channel, Gubs Radio Comedy Club. Go over there and check us out. We're also live on our home base, GubsRadio.com. And in a little while, we will be going to Instagram Live with our friends over at the Lady Brewsters, hailing from Long Island Brewing Company. We will get to all that in just a minute. But first, we must mention our sponsors tonight, and we have one on the show. But first, Steve, Rosie's Draft Solutions.
Rosie's Draft Solutions is a Long Island family-owned business that provides professional draft beer system services, line cleanings and maintenance, draft beer line system installs, event dispensing solutions, and more. They are very passionate about craft beer and making sure it has the same quality as when it left the brewery, which is only done by one way, by making sure those draft lines are perfectly clean. Rosie's services, bars, restaurants, halls, events, and all other beverage establishments, including home kegerator system installs and maintenance. They service the likes of WA Meadworks, Blue Point Brewing, Darling Brewing, 1940s, Mauritius Field, and our buddies over at Hopscotch Bottle Shop, just to name a few. You can reach them at rosiesdraftsolutions@gmail.com or call them at 631-219-2075, Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Mention the Wort for the special discount.
That's right. Tell Nick the Wort sent you. Thanks a lot, Rosie's, for hanging with us this year. Pete, let's take it away with with you.
Beer Maker.
Beer Maker.
Beer Maker on the desk right next to me. It's all grain at home brewing system. You can put it on your countertop. You can put it on your desk where you work from home, so people on your conference calls can question what that large object is. And
what are
it's
you
making
up to,
noise.
Peter?
And saying, I'm multitasking while I work from home making beer. Delicious, delicious beer. And we have Aaron from Beer Maker on here. We're going to do the whole Vanna White routine with the machine tonight. Very excited. We've got our second brew done by Steve.
Ghost Wheat.
Ghost Wheats. Very excited to try it. Good stuff. Use promo code The Wort for some dollars off your own machine.
That's right.
Highly recommended. It's a lot of fun. I just ordered my kit tonight, the Kolsch.
You got the Kolsch. And I have.
Yes.
I ordered.
There we go.
My kit, Jurassic Ale. Ooh, it's hard to see with my microphone away. My bad. Comes in this nice little bag. So yes, go to Beer Maker, Instagram, Facebook, Beer Maker, BEERMKR.com, and check out the videos and get more educated with how this thing works. Fantastic machine here. We'll get to Aaron in a little bit. Tonight, we are also sponsored by VintageBeerShirtClub.com. Go to VintageBeerShirtClub.com for your vintage beer shirts. In the promo code, type in WORT, W-O-R-T, to receive a percentage off your order. Or, of course, if you want to join a subscription, go ahead. Go to VintageBeerShirtClub.com. Also sponsored by Brewbag. Brewbag for your beer pong cornhole needs. Beer pong cornhole. Go to Brewbag. And also go to our Instagram and into our link tree in the bio. It has a private website for you as our listeners to get your discounted brew bag today. Go to brewbag.com and enjoy hashtag Yard Games if you're from the Boston area. A couple quick mentions. Brewers Hardware for your small home brewing or large capacity needs. Go to Brewers Hardware for all your brewing hardware. Try clamps for days. That's all we're going to say. Try clamps for days. For president as well. Here you go. And tonight on the show, we got an awesome show for you. First off, we have the Lady Brewsters. They're down there in our celebrity magical squares. And we have Michelle, Sheila, and Katie. I was going to say just Kate to be proper. Like we're in the, Bridgerton or something. I don't know, whatever that is. I have never watched it, so I have no idea. Sorry.
Sure.
I have never watched it. Not one. I know the guy. I know that gentleman because I saw him driving a stagecoach. In your
dreams.
No, driving a stagecoach down in Williamsburg, Virginia, where I was a couple weeks ago, and I have a picture of it. Yes, It was a striking resemblance with the clothing and everything to that gentleman. Very, very handsome man. And of course, another handsome man, Aaron from Beer Maker. He's with us tonight. He's going to hang for a little bit, and we're going to talk beer.
Hey, everybody.
Ladies, let's kick it off with you because we just cracked the Fragile Like a Bomb. This is the second iteration of the Lady Brewsters. I want you guys to give us the full breakdown, not only of the beer, but of the the essence behind it and what you guys are doing with this overall North Fork collaboration and everything involved with that. Go ahead, kick it off. Give us everything. I know it's a lot to talk about at first, but we got time. We got plenty of time.
Okay.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. It was great. And, Aaron,
good to catch up again. We'll do it again next year.
So the Lady Brewsters, we consist of a number of different breweries on the east end of Long Island. There are women in the industry from anywhere from, working behind the bar to production to management. Any role that a woman plays in the brewery world, they are involved in this collaboration. And we started this last year. It came to inception probably around the end of 2019. We started it last year. North Fork Brewing Company was the host. And then this year, it is Long Island that is the host for this year's collaboration. Last year, we did a hibiscus ginger IPA. And this year we did a guava and orange blossom honey IPA, Fragile Like a Bomb. And this is the actual first year that we've canned it, which is absolutely amazing. And the can itself also features two North Fork female artists as well. Kara Hovland and Verona Penalba are the artists for the can. And every year that we are going to do this, there's going to be proceeds that will benefit a Long Island charity as well.
Very nice. Very nice.
So just to kind of follow that up, so you were talking about the hosting site as being Long Island, as you guys are broadcasting live from Long Island. And so was a lot of that facility used then for, not the whole facility used for this brew, but what that facility is where it was brewed, where it was kind of conceived, and then how they hosted. What role did they play in getting this out there?
Well, really the role that Long Island played as host really was guidance. A lot of us, we don't have brewing experience of our own, with the exception of Katie, of course, and maybe one of the other women. So like Michelle mentioned, we come from different management positions and bartenders, things like that. So even though our team created the recipe, we oversaw all of the details from start to finish, what we wanted to be in the beer, the hops we wanted to use. Really, Katie is the one that steered the ship on that. But Long Island was really just here as a vessel for us to, make this product. And if we had any questions that we really weren't sure of, they were here for guidance. But luckily Dan and Greg were really great about just stepping back and letting us do our thing. And it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. And I think we had 20 plus women here on Brew Day, on International Women's Day. Awesome. So it was a big crew of women. And the guys just kind of hit out, they let us do what we wanted to do.
Dan was happy to just do that.
Yeah, they really were very happy that we wanted to run the show, we did everything. And as long as we weren't doing anything dangerous, he was happy to just let us run with it. And, so that's what we did.
So we're not going to put knives in the boil, right? I mean, that's not what's happening.
No.
Right?
No.
Katie wouldn't let that happen. She's like, no.
Who came out with the name? I love the name.
That
Fragile
was
like
actually
a bomb.
Michelle. Michelle came up with the name.
Hey, see?
I like it.
Tell us the meaning behind there. I mean, was there just that strong woman feel, or was there some alternate meaning in addition to that? Where was that essence?
Guava is a Mexican fruit. So I was trying to think of some inspiration around that. And there's a quote with the famous artist Frida Kahlo that is not fragile like a flower, fragile like a bomb. So that went up to, a poll throughout the whole collective of voting for a name.
Cool. And yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's more like a democracy. Everyone's kind of throwing in a name in the hat or kind of
Yeah,
voting on it and that.
It's definitely a democracy within the project because we do have so many women that are contributing ideas. And we want to make sure that it's never too many cooks in the kitchen situation. So we all contribute. Everyone can contribute ideas for the flavor, the hops, everything that's going to go into it, to the name and the designs. Everybody gets input, which is really nice. And then we just kind of all vote and figure out what the consensus is and go from there.
Yeah, I want to say from like the conception to the beer, to the name, to everything, the three of us kind of set the framework, and then every brewery that's involved gets to have a say and, you know, figure out what beer we're all going to be the most proud to make.
And speaking of the breweries involved, let's give that list. It's Eastern Front, it's Greenport Harbor, Jamesport Farm Brewery, it's Long Island, North Fork, Peconic County Brewing, Tradewinds, and Uber Geek. You got a lot of brand new kids on the block on this one, which is very cool.
Yeah. And old ones.
And old ones.
Yeah, it's a really good mixture of the OG breweries and the new guys that are opening up. And all of the women that came together for this year's project were incredible. We had a lot of fun.
And that's the part I like most about the project too, is that, you know, we are in this position to be able to collaborate with every other brewery on the North Fork, which I haven't seen anything, you know, that can bring everybody together and kind of just see how we can make something all together and put it out there, you know, something that we can be proud of.
So, I mean, you're bringing a lot of the bartenders, the people that work behind the scenes together, all the women from these breweries. Were there anybody kind of beyond that, any other women that were involved that just weren't connected to that but still had a big part in help producing this?
No, every woman that was involved was really from one of the breweries. You know, we try to keep it like that just because we knew that we all had so many strong women that wanted to participate. And if we opened it up even further, then, you know, we would have had 50 women in here and then things get a little out of control. Yeah. So yeah, we just kept it, anybody that works at those breweries that you mentioned, all the North Fork spots that wanted to participate. We kind of, you know, put a schedule out there for the brew day itself. And then if you couldn't participate in that, we did a canning day. So people that missed the brew day came in and they worked on the canning line. So everybody really got as much time as they wanted to come down and participate.
And I do want to give just a small shout out to Bedell Cellars, which I currently work out, which is a winery alongside Greenport Harbor Brewing. And they've been nothing but supportive and given lots of, you know, information and, you know.
Oh, that's very cool.
It's a beautiful spot. Bedell's is great.
Yeah. Sheila alluded to before, Katie, you have a little more experience than some of the rest. Where does that lie? What did you kind of bring to the table on this one?
I'm sorry, what was it?
I said Sheila said you had some more brewing experience than some of the rest. What did you bring to the table?
I was really fortunate that I worked in the tasting room at Pominock Vineyards, and they gave me the foot in the door on the bottling line. I was really interested in production. And then that led to my position at Greenport in packaging and then cellaring beer. And then, you know, COVID, I was there for a couple of years and I still maintain a position there in the cellar. But I was able to do harvest at Bedell this year, which just led to a whole other scope of education on how to, you know, in fermentation and barrel care and just flavor profiles and such like that. And I think, you know, everything leads to something else and we get to grow that across the board as our little North Fork community out here.
Yeah. Aaron, just to give you some connection to this. So we're on Long Island, as you know, we're kind of on this isolated, desolate island where it's nothing but breweries and wineries, which is an amazing oasis of it's so bad. And out east, you know, like Nassau County, Suffolk County are towards the western part of Long Island. By Suffolk, I mean that's where I live in Western Suffolk, but Eastern Suffolk is a little more spread out. There's a lot of wineries, a lot of farms and things like that. So there's a lot of room for, growing their own hops and having the access to some of, the farm-based ingredients that would go into the brewing process. So I just, again, give you some clarification on where they are. So on the northern part of Long Island, towards the east is where all these breweries are located. It's kind of like a nice little beer trail as you travel out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I've always wanted to get out there. I spent a lot of time in New York. Grew up outside of Buffalo.
Oh, really?
Went to school in upstate New York, and never really got down towards the, let's call it the lively end of the state. So mostly stayed up in the cold, frigid north of.
I was gonna say,
Aaron, tell us when you're out here, and we'd be glad to,
yeah, they'll show you around. They got a bunch of breweries they can get you in on. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll definitely hit you up when I
You know what, girls? It's hard when you live in Colorado. Oh, do you live in Colorado now?
I do, yeah. I'm in Boulder.
Oh, so that's going to be a really hard place to leave.
It's a hard life in Colorado.
Yeah,
it's tough. There's so much sunshine and so much beer out here. It's ridiculous. Just don't know what to do with myself.
Exactly.
Just to bring back a point that you said about growing hops, is that our bittering hops in this beer were grown by North Fork Brewing Company.
Nice.
We used Chinook in there. Michelle can talk more about that, but they are farmed out here on the North Fork and processed by the family and brewery.
Oh, cool.
And their team.
Yeah. Michelle, tell us a little more about that.
So every September we have a harvest for the hops. We own a 2-acre farm in Peconic. So it's about a half hour from where the brewery is located to half hour east. The hop farm actually existed before the brewery did. It was in the Van Borgendine family for some time, probably 4 to 5 years before we opened the brewery. And then we've just continued to use the bittering hops that we produce on the farm. And then anything else that we need, we do order. But it is a small farm, but we do use as much as we can from there.
Local ingredients.
Especially being, like you said, on this desolate island of Long Island, it's a special treat to be able to have those hops accessible for sure.
And with the sarcasm, Aaron, what we're saying is it is not desolate. It is extremely crowded, and it's only getting more crowded by the year. And those farms are, it's tough to keep around to support the local industries. A lot of farms over the last, decade or two have succumbed to the condominium or just production or people tearing it down and building development. There's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Peter. You're good for something, by the way. How's that back feeling? That came straight out of his lower discs, your L4 and your L5. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, it's going to be harder and harder down here to find those good local ingredients just because of that. Now, upstate, we have the farm brewer's license in New York where you can get local ingredients, and a lot of that hops and grain and barley and all the things that you would need for brewing can be found there. Before you went out to Colorado, Aaron, did you find that there was enough here in New York? What was the temperature, besides the cold, of beer culture up in Buffalo?
No, and so that was the thing. So when I was of, let's call it beer age, I was a little further south. I was in Ithaca.
So 16.
Yeah, exactly right. It's where we like our wings, our football, and beer.
Yeah.
16. Yeah. No, so when I was down, so I was out in Colorado, and then I came back to New York for grad school.
Oh, okay.
And I was absolutely blown away by the culture out here, and in particular by here I mean New York, right? And the availability of really breweries and like the atmosphere that has been created through local laws. Like you're talking about, like this farm, the farm bills where they, I can't remember the specifics of it, but is it about half of the ingredients or 40% of the ingredients?
It's a lot more now. It's pretty much up to 75%, if not more.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal. And what I was there in 2012, 13, 2014. And, my local brew club, one of the guys his family had a farm, and they were in the process of converting it from rice and corn over to hops.
Wow.
Because they saw this this demand for it coming. And I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal to watch how that can work. I haven't seen anything similar to that anywhere else in the United States. And it's an amazing feat to see New York doing this, and how well they can support their local breweries, and seeing how many have come up as a response to that.
What's pretty cool with the actual farm brewers license that they offer in New York is that you can actually carry other breweries' beers. You can carry winery. You could carry wine from local New York State wine. Same thing with any type of alcohol, whiskey, rum. As long as they're New York State produced, you can actually carry it in your tasting room, which makes it changes the complexity of somebody coming up to just a regular tasting room, or a tasting room that carries these other things, ciders, meads. Just gives you that one person in the group that doesn't drink beer now has this opportunity, and it's
all about variety.
Yeah.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah, and we're fortunate enough on the North Fork to have all of those things you just mentioned.
Every
available,
single one.
Cideries, distilleries, everything, and everything you're saying. I think we're all really appreciative of the New York State Brewers Association for making it a team effort.
Yeah, and as Aaron was saying, it is phenomenal to have that in place. I think the hardest thing that we've been seeing over the last few years that we've been doing the show is talking to brewers that are trying to reach those demanded goals of 75%, 80%. It started at, I think, 30, 40, somewhere in there, and it's gone up 10 to 20% each year. And more the demand is there. And unfortunately, a lot of people are saying that the New York State upstate growers and of hops and wheat and malt are having a really tough time keeping up with the demand. It's just a tough thing. So there's got to be some sort of balance there. That's kind of like what everyone's saying. We got to definitely keep those farmers growing what they grow. We'll keep supplying them, or keep consuming from them. But at the same time, there's got to be some sort of realistic balance between what they're growing versus what we're consuming. And as we know, New York, Long Island itself is just consuming a ton of these local ingredients, because a lot of the breweries have the farm license because of those benefits that you get from it.
Well, it also doesn't help when every other week there's another brewery opening.
Right. And
so,
yeah.
It every time you turn around, there's another one.
Yeah. And as
I think an incentive to farm is always a good incentive for the community. So
and I would like to see
a
lot of those farms out east. As much as I love my locally grown Long Island corn and broccoli and things like that, a lot of them are going to have to take up, the mantle of maybe now even tilling some of the farm for hop growth. And if you travel out on Long Island on the North Shore and you're taking the windy road all the way out to the Orient Point, you'll see a bunch of these hop yards pop up along the way, which is awesome. It's a great place to kind of see and experience a lot of the locally grown, crops and supplies. And then, of course, the beer trail that I was referring to before. Ladies, I really want to talk a little bit more about Lady Brewsters and the idea behind the organization. Give us a little idea of kind of how this was formed. I know we talked about it on our show about a year ago, but just bring everyone up to date on kind of the, mission statement of the organization and kind of what you're trying to bring to light.
I mean, I want to say it was a discussion that started at North Fork Brewing in 2019. It was just an idea, and I had reached out to a number of women at the local breweries to just see if they were interested in collaborating and doing something like this. And last year it was, I believe, 7 of the breweries, and this year was 8. But it was really to make sure that we were highlighting our roles in the industry, which is obviously such a male-dominated field, and really highlighting the strength of the women in the industry, that women really do enjoy craft beer. It's not just we're not just interested in the light, girly beers. that there is a real passion for it, and women who want to know
I
more.
like those light beers. Don't you talk about those light beers
They
like
have
that.
their place. They have their
They
place
do.
too.
They do.
Everything has their time and place.
Yeah.
Out of the three of us, I'm the sour fan, so I love a good, sweet,
Me too.
delicious
We're
sour.
All sour kids.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's part of our plan.
We were
once
just
we get a
discussing
little
that,
further
Yes.
down the line. You always got to go with the IPA first because it's going to sell.
Yeah, of course. See, they even know the business model of breweries. IPA, sold, done. Everyone will take some.
It's all about the demand.
That's it.
But yeah, so in highlighting the women in the industry, we also wanted to look at that and see how can we be a force for good as well. And so we took this whole project and decided that we are going to also link that back to a local charity. Last year was Family Service League.
Yep.
The proceeds last year went towards their programs for women. This year we've collaborated with Empowerment Collaborative of Long Island.
ECU.
Who just acquired Vibes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and the proceeds this month will be going towards services for support with survivors of rape, sexual assault, abuse, human trafficking, violence. ECLI does, just a variety. They serve a variety of demographics and even people incarcerated, community and gang violence. So they have a whole scope of services.
Very cool. Just looking at, what you guys have put together, the message that's there, I think you're hitting on all marks. Again, with the canning line, it definitely lends itself to more distribution this year as opposed to last year. And I really want to break down, the ingredients and the brewing process. Can you give us a little bit of profile on this beer? Tell people what they'd be getting into.
So when we first were in discussion between the three of us, it was really important to us to make a marketable beer, and so we decided on the IPA. And the taste between the three of us also lean towards West Coast style as opposed to your New England.
Yep.
However, with ladies working in tasting rooms and management and knowing what sells, we kind of wanted to, because I think we've all run into people who are put off by certain words, whether it's New England or West Coast or whatever. So we kind of wanted to make an American IPA, something that sat in the middle, that had a little bit more bitterness than your standard New England IPA.
Right.
And you can see, we didn't filter it, but it's still got a beautiful clarity on it. Yep. So I'm very proud of all of us for nailing that, goal of American IPA. And then with the flavors, I think we kind of all came to the conclusion, it's hard because we're discussing these beers in January and February, right? Yeah. Where we're cold and sitting by fires and want to drink stouts and, all those things. But you kind of have to project yourself into the future and be like, well, what does March look like? What does April look like? We want to get our citrus in. We want to get that feeling that we're doing something good for ourselves and getting those, those crisp tastes. And I think we all landed on guava being this, second cast character to so many other profiles. And I think we've all had guava beforehand and we're really into it.
Yeah.
We got to showcase the guava, and then the orange blossom honey gave it a nice little backbone. And then all the hops that we used kind of just tried to add to that guava, orange blossom, honey aroma and taste. And I'm really freaking proud.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of this one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
I do like the bitterness here because it does kind of give that essence of that West Coast, like you were saying. And I do like the offset of the guava and the orange peel. Like I said, definitely a different beer from last year. And delicious. Not to say last year's wasn't good, but this one is really hitting out of the park. And watching on Instagram, people posting and showing stuff out there, this pretty much was a hit. People are loving this from all around. What's the feedback you guys are getting?
We got really great feedback so far. The Untapped ratings have been fantastic, and many, so obviously each of the 8 breweries, we got, a keg of the beer and 15 cases to, sell through our different locations. And then Bellport Cold Beer and Soda, they took a case.
Dave's Cold Beer and Soda.
Yeah, so Dave's got some. And, the very sweet guys at Hopscotch, they also took a case.
Shout out to Mark.
So, it just spread the love a little bit further up the island. And so far, it's been going like wildfire. I mean, none of us out here have cans, except I think Super Geek still has theirs.
Super Geek and maybe James
Peconic County
Ford
has
and
cans.
Peconic County.
Yeah.
Tradewinds.
Yeah, and Tradewinds. But 2 of the breweries sold out after the first weekend, both the keg and cans. And we just have super limited amounts at the other breweries. So the reception has been amazing.
Yeah.
And
those are good problems.
tonight is going to be even less because I could see by the amount you ladies have been drinking.
There's one less
we're
keg at Long
enjoying
Island.
the fruits of our labor.
That's right, of course.
That's right. I have to say, I as like Mike was saying, last year's was a good beer, and you guys, it was your first time really trying to get something to go. I like this beer again more because of I think you guys had an idea that you really honed in on, and I like and I was a little hesitant when I heard the honey blossom, because sometimes brewers can put too much. And then that idea of bitterness now turns into bittersweet.
Right.
But I like it. The flavor's there, but without really that sharp kind of, honey-esque flavor.
It's a
as you
decent
can tell,
balance. I mean,
I don't really have much left because
Thank you. And that was something that was important to us when we were collaborating with North Fork and Greenport and Long Island in, kind of honing in the recipe, is that we knew what we wanted, and we knew that we wanted the orange blossom honey to really be an aroma and not so much a sweet taste. And, through the guidance of all 3 of them, I think it really,
Now you use the orange blossom end of boil?
I'm sorry?
Did you use the orange blossom honey at the end of boil?
I think we're gonna keep that secret.
Look at that.
It seemed to work out.
You love to see it.
We have our own trade secrets
Nice.
now.
We sure did.
I like it.
Not a problem. I totally understand.
I'll get Greg drunk one day and find out.
Yeah. I think that we're in agreement on it too, though. I love this beer. I think that we came worlds past the beer that we put out last year, even though I felt that it was strong for our first endeavor.
Freshman project, sophomore project.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really proud of this. I've been drinking it nonstop, as you can see. And I think that next year will be even better. We'll have all of this experience the last few years to push it even further.
Now you're saying that
It's already
almost
shoddied next year too.
saying that like you already have a plan for next year. Any
We're talking.
see,
What ideas have been kicked around so far?
yeah. Give us a throwout idea that was thrown around.
Uber Geek will be hosting next
Ah,
Our boy Robbie.
yeah, man.
And we want to do, like we were talking about earlier, everybody wants to buy IPAs.
Yeah.
So that an IPA is going to be the safest way to go. And so now, we've got 2 years under our belts. We're not beer, that's not our goal. And we want to make serious beer that people will enjoy and kind of, push it a little bit further outside of the box. So we'll see what next year brings for us.
I'm gonna say raspberry porter.
That sounds interesting.
Although
I love
it's not-
raspberry.
So no blonde ales.
Yeah, no.
No. I love blonde ales,
Yeah.
of course.
So do I.
Maybe in the future, but
I mean,
not for the sophomore
Sheila,
project.
aren't you the influence for Beach Please?
Oh, yeah. Some people say that. She was blonde originally.
Beach, please.
I just want to say she was
Look, she's
blonde
Look at how tan she is.
originally.
Yeah,
And then Kurt just changed her into a redhead. So.
exactly.
They're going to do like a barrel-aged barley wine next time now.
I-
Everybody dance with it. Yeah.
or a quadruple just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like, drop a quad on you.
Quadruple. Oh,
Yeah.
Quad on you, and that'll be it.
Aaron, so they're brewing with guava and honey. Orange blossom honey. So in reference to the beer maker, before we get into a whole bunch of stuff with that, there's adjuncts that you can add to the beer maker. Would either of these adjuncts be possible in this machine?
Yes, and a couple of really interesting things. I was curious to hear where you put your honey in as well, but I get it. Trade secret. Also curious about the guava, by the way. So the cool thing, at least with Beer Maker, is it's totally open, so you can put it in whenever you want. So you can put it in at the beginning with the grains. You can put it in with yeast. You can put it in during the secondary, which is essentially after your primary finishes up. You're not moving containers at all. But you can if you want to take some of that honey flavor off, you put it in on the hot side. If you want to retain some of that natural honey flavor, you can put it in on the cold side. So totally up to you. Depends on what you're trying to achieve with your batch.
So here's a thought. If we can try to mimic their recipe, maybe we can release more of this since it's in such scarce form.
Please do. I'd like to see what you do.
Try that product.
I'll put Steve in front of the computer on his little calculadora.
Clone Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just save one can so we have the back and forth between our version and your version.
Okay.
I guarantee you.
I doubt it would hold the candle.
No, probably not. But no offense to the beer maker, but for us to guess at the recipe is definitely not going to hit the mark of the actual recipe. It's tough unless you already know, you're I guess you're scaling up or you're scaling down depending on what you're doing.
I have the answer.
You do?
Yes.
What?
I have like great bottles of scotch and whiskey. And if I happen to show up when all the ladies are hanging out, we happen to start having a few drinks and,
they're like pre-boiled,
when
145. They're just throwing numbers at you. Like, oh, okay.
Steve,
All right, there we go.
we welcome you to come with your alcohol anytime.
Catch us over the summer. Catch us next brew day.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Challenge accepted, Stephen. You got it now. So I want to just kind of put a cap on, and then not to say that you can't talk about it again, but the brewing process for this recent one, how much did it change from the first time you went through it to the second time you threw it? Not that the recipes were the same either, but kind of what was made better, and what process streamline did you have? Did you guys kind of say, okay, well, I know what we did last time, let's do this time? What were the upgrades that were made along the way in this process?
So I think, I don't know if it's upgrade, only because we couldn't have made this beer if we hadn't made the first one.
Okay.
And we wouldn't have made the first one without every single situation that went into the first one. So I definitely wouldn't call it an upgrade. I think, and it's something that should be addressed too, is that though it's Lady Brewsters and we all support each other in every part of the industry, is that I think every single one of us involved feel fully supported by the dudes in the industry. And, I know personally for me, it's a lot, right? It means a lot.
And we're pretty familiar with all the people that work at these breweries. Either we've had them on the show or Steve knows them personally and spoke very highly of everybody. You have a great lineup here of people to work with. I'm sure, going through the process, like you said, very supportive in these guys. And what comes out of it, obviously, is the result that we have today is, something that's highly drinkable, very sought after, and on top of it has a great message and a great delivery. So, like I said, looking at next year, being at Uber Geek and what Rob's going to do, have you considered kind of like what the scale of the system is?
I don't know if it's what Rob's gonna do.
No. I mean, by Rob's not doing a damn thing. We'll put it that way. Rob's gonna watch and just make sure no one breaks anything. But my point, but the systems at these places. So you were at North Fork for the first one, correct?
That was a question I had. How do you adapt year to year brewing on a different system?
And then Long Island,
and not doing it, So last year it was made at North Fork.
We all live and work around these breweries. So we maintain relationships with every single one of them. Like we visit them, we visit each other's breweries. and we really appreciate the feedback across the board, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, you know, that's where we were talking about earlier, the guidance from, you know, the guys that do run the show at the various different breweries, the brewers themselves. You know, we had an idea, we knew the recipe that we wanted to make. There was a little bit of tweaking here and there because obviously you're scaling up or you're scaling down, you know, depending on where you're brewing and how much you want to get out of it. So there was a really great dialogue between our entire team and also, you know, the guys that are here at Long Island and North Fork and Uber Geek. You know, everyone was able to kind of pitch in their experience with certain flavoring, certain ingredients if they've used it before. So even though we're really proud of all of the work that we put in, we definitely would be mistaken if we didn't recognize that we did have help and support from the awesome guys at all of these places.
Yeah,
and we're really fortunate out here. You know, we're kind of in like this microcosm of beer.
That's what I was about to say.
You don't really find.
The desolate island.
The desolate island.
Very desolate.
all right with the desolate. I was being very sarcastic. Sorry. It's so
But
desolate.
yeah, we're fortunate. You know, we have a lot of great breweries out here, a lot of really knowledgeable people that are always really helpful and want to lend a hand.
Pete, what's your phrase that talks about that point? You always say it.
Oh God, an embarrassment of riches.
There it is. I knew it. We have an embarrassment.
We do have an embarrassment of
really
riches.
do.
Yeah. That's absolutely true.
It's a great line for a certain situation just like this. I mean, for what we have here on Long Island in general, besides just the North Fork and again, a beautiful ride out, gorgeous country, and get away from the hustle and bustle of our, city dwellings or our really crowded suburbs. You know, it's a great place to come visit, great place to see. And obviously, you know that from the result of this beer and many of the beers that are brewed, that we have a very strong community, in addition to great personalities, great people all across the brewing community. And it really speaks wonders to kind of, you guys and how they opened armed, brought you in and worked with you along the way, and then just kind of let you do your own thing and help produce something, bringing something to the community, in addition to benefiting the other parts of the community that need that. So hats off to you guys. I love this. This was delicious. Like I said, it's right up my alley in regards to that bitterness. Yes, very well done. And
thank you guys.
Hats off for you guys coming up with that recipe and being able to do what you do. Awesome. And we will try to mimic this at one point. I'm gonna say we're gonna try it.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
I really look forward to that.
We're excited to see what you guys make.
It's only about a gallon and a quarter, gallon and a half, so it'll be limited, very limited release for sure.
Okay.
$45 a can.
Yeah.
Fundraiser we'll do. So Aaron, let me get to you really quick. Interesting because I didn't know you grew up here in New York State. Very cool. And so there's so many. We have lots of questions for you about this machine. Girls, you've seen this machine, correct? And you've seen what this thing can do. Michelle was talking before the show.
It's very cool. I would love to see one and get my hands on it because I find it fascinating that you can do all of that in that small little box.
Yeah, and just to experiment with all the amalgamation.
Right. I mean, think about the Lady Brewsters having one to be able to test a batch out of what they're going to do the following year. And go,
Are you trying to get our secret
about that?
We have a promo code. Yeah. But yeah, it's cool. That's kind of what we're using it for. We're testing out recipes and messing around, of course, starting with their kits that they offer through the website. And then we are probably going to try to scale down a bunch of stuff that we have on hand. We know Steve, being an ex-brewer of Barrage Brewing Company in Farmingdale, Long Island, has a crap ton of recipes. And eventually, once we get used to the system, we all get our hands on it and get moving on it. We're going to try to scale down some recipes. Aaron, I want you to give us a full background on how this machine came to be, because it's truly intriguing, and there's been others, that have kind of tried to do the same thing. What sets this apart? What makes this unique? And, how did that come to be? It's just it's an amazing, like the girls were saying, just, oh my God, this is ridiculous.
Awesome. Well, super excited that, you're excited about it. We are mostly because nothing like it existed. And that's really the main reason we want to build it. There have been other all-in-one automatic beer brewers, or so they say, but unfortunately, most of them are just wort makers. They're not actually beer makers.
I wish I had my little sounder machine. I don't have it. The girls
Shots
remember.
fired.
Sheila, Michelle, you guys remember I had my little sound machine there, and I have something like it. It just takes way too long to queue up, and it's not immediate. But I got my can opener. There it is. It's not that loud. That's all right.
Terrible.
Yeah, sorry. That's why we need you back in the studio. It makes so much things better.
Yeah. So that's really the heart of it, is that nothing like it existed, and a lot of the products that were on the market were, in our view, selling something that they weren't, in particular to an audience that really got the wrong idea for it. And if you make some of these automated beers, either with some of the extract style kits that promise you good results, you're really limited in what you can do to actually make it your beer. Like, you can't scale down a commercial recipe that you found on your favorite brewer's website with an extract brewer.
Right.
And then you have the grain brewers, and they don't really help too much beyond just making wort. And then you have to ferment it. The yeast is really that magic piece that unlocks what this beer can be. And those specific flavors that come due to fermentation temperature, and how well you are managing that temperature throughout the process is everything. From a commercial standpoint, you have to treat every piece as importantly as the one preceding it in order to get a good beer out of the back end. And we found that all of these automated systems were just ignoring huge pieces of it. So that was the biggest hole that we saw that we really felt like we could address. So our company has been producing beer brewing equipment for a while. Brew Jacket Immersion and Immersion Pro are a couple of devices that we produce for home brewers, and they got picked up pretty well by low volume with pilot systems, yeast laboratories, universities, and their teaching setups would purchase our fermentation equipment. And
are there any styles that it can specifically do or can't do? Like, can you do something so you can control your temperature?
Yeah, you can get everywhere. You get down to freezing. You can get up to, you can get up to in the hundreds if you'd like to.
And I think I saw online too, you can do it from the app too, right?
Yes.
On your
That's
phone.
awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Like, oh no, it's the temperature. No.
Well, with that said, Pete has been the most annoying about this because we are all linked into this app, the three of us. So when we get an alert,
Oh God, yeah! As soon as there's a notication,
forget it.
Lord.
just texting these two guys the fucking temperature of the beer at 7:30 in the morning. Hey guys, it's at 125.
Good morning.
I was the guinea pig. I took the unit first, and I did 2 beers. We did an IPA, and then we just did the wheat. So I was the first day we all got together, and we took it apart, and we put together and started it. And here's the crazy part. Anybody that's been a home brewer, your day revolves around cleaning and sanitizing, and then getting the beer done, and then cleaning up. This took us about.
That's not just home brewer. That's big boy brewer too.
Yeah,
That's like brewery across the board. I'm pretty sure.
But because this is geared towards home brewers, towards, and the key, we were ready to, all right, we're gonna spend some time with this. What beers are we gonna drink while we're doing it? 15 minutes later, we're like, all right.
I guess we're just drinking now.
I guess we're drinking now, and that's that. Because it was that's
awesome.
simplistic, but again, I'm a professional brewer, Seibel Institute graduate. I really had my doubts about this machine, just because everything I know. And then I watched and this is one of the great things about this unit also is the informational videos that you guys do. Not only online, on the website, but on the app itself as the next step comes along, and it tells you, all right, your next step is this. And then as you click on it, there's a little video along with, you know, a paragraph or two of what you're going to do. So if you don't want to read, it's going to tell you in a video
That is awesome.
what you're going to do. And let me tell you, if you can't make good beer with this machine,
Yeah.
you're a fucking moron.
I'll put that to the test, Steve.
It was
Steve.
everything about it was so spot on.
Yeah.
It really, and again, Aaron, I did some homework on you guys. You know, I kind of read up of the company, and I knew about the immersion and all that in advance and the Kickstarters, and yeah.
Are there brew calculators in the app?
Well, what's really cool also is if you want, you could DIY your own beer, and it gives you a software calculator that you can punch in whatever grains, whatever hops, whatever you want, amount of water, all that, and it's going to tell you exactly what you're going to get. Which
So Aaron, when you want to send out a sample unit, just
we'll do it all year. It'd be great.
it's sitting right here.
Some really good feedback.
I will tell you when we put the honey in.
Ooh, trade secrets for units.
Oh.
I was blown away just by the simplicity of this, and like Steve said, if you can't really make good beer by following directions, and you just can't follow good directions in life. So in this one, you know, what we were doing that first night was trying to meticulously go through it to find out if there was more to it, and there just wasn't. You were just like, yeah, no, that's it. That you're done. Close the door.
Like it couldn't be that easy.
Right, exactly. You were like, this can't be that easy, and then that was it.
What are brewers gonna do if they can't be so miserable about, you know, like it's really gonna change a lot.
And all that cleaning they have to do after.
Yeah, it was
Well, I
funny.
think too, it probably helps out a lot of like beginner home brewers who spend all the money and the time on the new equipment, and then their first batch sucks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
It's not even like all. At least with this, like you follow the directions. It's just
Like I made
that's
We're gonna go that, right? Like that, like exactly.
Yeah.
And Pete, show
Is that sort of the target demo, Aaron? Like the home brewer that doesn't want to get all of the equipment or doesn't have space for all the equipment? Is that sort of what you're gearing it towards?
Right. So when we went through the development of this, there were multiple demographics that we had found that this concept really resonated well with. And first, like you're saying, was the beginner home brewer, or better yet, the home brewer who has tried it and then had bad results, and we're like, I know what I'm getting into it with this whole brewing thing. I really want to do it, but I don't have the time. I don't have the space for the equipment. You know, I've got a busy job, or I've got kids, you know, just the amount of time that you have to really dive into this incredible hobby and incredible, you know, experience of crafting your own beer. It's a lifelong endeavor, and it's a challenge to get into that. And it's so sad when you get your first batch and it got oxidized on transport.
Oh yeah, about that, Aaron. Let me talk to you about it.
Oh, don't stop.
All right, I'm sorry. I apologize. So Aaron, I will say your machine is the first machine to give the Wort the first good beer that it ever brewed together. We'll put it that way.
That's good.
Yay. Yeah, thank you, girl. Yay to Aaron.
Some crap from other.
Oh boy. And by the way, not in New York, so we can talk smack all we want. It wasn't a New York brewery at all. Now defunct, actually, pretty much. So you know, we got ourselves into a pickle, and we're happy that we have a result now of beer that's actually drinkable. And the oxidation was the issue.
What did you guys make?
Oh God, we don't want to speak of it.
No, let's.
It's the beer that shall not be named.
No, well, wait, I'll let you know. So, wait, first of all, as I'm moving, I can move my arm really quick. Wait, I'll do it in very short moments because our audience has probably heard this story before. We went up to Boston to a place that does brewing in their brewery for people that want to just brew a batch of beer. We did 2 different batches. Everything was
collective, like contract brewing.
No, just a regular brewing
like if you
place.
wanted to go with like, you know, a bunch of your friends and make beer for like an event, or just like, you know, like I thought it was a cool idea for like a bachelor party.
It's a
So
cool
like you could go there
idea.
and make like a couple cases of beer,
Yeah.
and then you could serve it at your event or something.
Right.
Like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's a really cool concept.
And the
If
process.
it didn't come out like shit. Yeah,
Right, right. Well, I'll say, like, the first day going up there and doing it, the process was great. We had a lot of fun. We had the kettles, we were stirring in, we were mashing in, all that other good stuff. And we ended up, leaving kegs there because we were going to keg our beer, bring it down, and can it at our buddy Joe's at WAME Works. And so we get the beer brewed. We wait our 3 or 4 weeks. We go up there to pick it up. It's in the kegs for us. We bring the kegs down. We go to Joe's. We go to can it. And the first beer that came out was supposed to be the wheat, and it looked like puddle water because it was so oxidized and
super foamy puddle water.
Foamy puddle water. Then we're like, all right, so maybe that was just a mistake. All right, fine. Then we pour the Oktoberfest. The exact same thing. It actually looked like
color.
an Oktoberfest, right? But it certainly did not taste like one.
So
we did end up canning like 1 or 2 of them. So this was supposed to be Worttoberfest.
Oh, nice.
And
Mike did a really good job on the label.
Yeah, the can looks great, and everything's. We're gonna do 12 ounces, not 16s, just so we had enough of it. And we're gonna do
love
like
Oktoberfest beers.
So do we.
So do we.
Yeah.
Not this one though.
No, absolutely not. So obviously, this place did not do us right and completely screwed up. The transfer and the oxidation happened, and then we, had basically our money gone. We had a nice
2
experience.
kegs of shit.
Yeah, literally we threw it out that night. So we were kind of dying before we stumbled upon Beer Maker to kind of come up with a concept without troubling a brewer here on Long Island to make something for us. We wanted to do something kind of on our own, and when we came across the Beer Maker machine, we were like, yes, this is our kind of first step in kind of developing some stuff and having something out there that people can try. Our first batch that we did, the IPA, Future IPA, we actually got out to the home brewers on Long Island for our homebrewers show 2 weeks ago, where we had LIBME.
Oh, right, yeah.
We had hand grenades and beer, Brewers East End Revival.
Yep.
And they all had a sample or 2 of our beer for themselves. Again, good feedback from everybody, which was great. The Future IPA turned out pretty good. Probably our first experience with it, so there's a little mistakes, tweaks, and stuff that we could have done better here and there. Steve knows well. But now, with the wheat that we're dialed into this machine here, came out excellent. Aaron, with all that said, I really want to know the development of this. There's got to be some sort of progression of machines that came out before leading up to this. What happened along the way?
What did the mistakes look like?
What did the mistakes like we made happen to you?
Yeah. So one of the most challenging pieces of making this is doing development on non-final hardware. In principle, doing working with materials that are made for 3D printing, additive manufacturing, and things like that. None of them are really food grade. And none at all can be taken up to temperature and expect to be held. So getting a brew tub that's sealed was almost impossible. Because it would warp on us. We would have oxidation issues every time. So we would have to improvise. And so we had, we were doing at the very beginning, we're actually doing brews in these large jars that would emulate our process. It was kind of funny. Like, I wish I had some pictures to show you right now, but they're essentially these like 2.5 gallon jars. And it was essentially a brew in a bag setup where we were messing with the recipes, messing with steam hops, and like getting it in there and making sure that this thing can actually perform from a recipe standpoint. And that was also really challenging because we were doing that in a big cooler that we had water in, and it was circulating through a bunch of coffee heaters, and we were heating this water in line with a marsh pump, and like bringing it up to temperature and doing the same general process that we were planning on having.
Did it look like Doc Brown's barn in Back to the Future 3?
Almost like an immersion circulator for like sous vide cooking.
Exactly, but with like little baby aliens in a jar.
Fair enough.
Aaron, is your brewing experience purely academic, or is it also practical?
So, beginningly just hobby. I grew up in the South, or I lived in the South, New York, and then down to the South, and then Colorado, then back to New York, and then back to Colorado. Everywhere, really.
He's a migrant brewer.
Well, I guess if you're gonna make something that brews, like, right, we all have different regions and different temperatures and different brewing restrictions.
Even styles too. I mean, just what's popular down south may not be as popular up here, and out
and
west
nor
as
should
well.
it be, right? Like, I don't want to drink Florida beer in December in the
Why not?
Right?
Beer.
And vice versa.
No, yeah. So that's interesting, right? So the overall journey was one of like 15, 20 years ago, going on a study abroad over in Europe and seeing all of these amazing beers coming back to the Atlanta, Georgia area. And like, in here, I mean, this was before before that, like, 5% law was lifted, where all the beers and
there's other laws.
Yeah.
So there was
Silly
just
laws.
nothing there. So like the only way to drink good beer was to make it yourself. So that's how I started. And the interesting piece about that was it's really hot down there, and half the year it was too hot to even ferment most styles. You're stuck to saisons in the summer. And that's kind of how I got working on the first product, the immersion. And I moved to Colorado after that and realized I just didn't have the expertise at all from an engineering perspective. I'm background in economics and I love beer. Right? That's what
the engineering background seems to have paid off, though.
Yeah, sure did.
Fantastic.
So I ended up finding myself at grad school, met some incredibly smart engineers, and we paired up and have been together ever since. And, we're going on almost.
Here's a real question, not to be funny. Was this your senior project, like your thesis paper?
No, this was, so we originally got grouped up in an entrepreneurship class.
Okay.
And that's I think was the craziest thing about it, is that like my current business partner is still the same guy I met at an entrepreneurship class.
That's great.
But yeah, so that was the impetus to create this immersion device. And then it wasn't until later where we were actually producing these immersions, selling them to homebrewers, to brew shops. We've shipped this thing to 30 different countries around the world by this point. And
wow.
It's immersion was awesome. And it really helped a lot of people who just didn't have space for refrigerators.
I found that a lot of guys that I know that had picked them up was they were in between that, they were past the beginner stage, but they weren't at that where I'm going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. This was perfect. And when it came out, I remember like, wow, that's a freaking pretty good idea. And a lot of guys I know bought them.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's what we realized as well. Like most of the people buying it, they were making that their next step of equipment purchases for the first time. They're like, I know I love brewing, and I know I need some temperature control, or I know I'm buying a new fermenter. I want to get temperature control for that. So let me see what's available. And at the time when we released immersion, there was nothing available when it came to good temperature control outside of an Inkbird that you plugged into your chest freezer.
Yep.
And then, so in the course of doing, this product, we would just have conversations with regular people and describe what we would do in the product. And like, oh, that sounds really cool, but I don't brew beer. And then I was like, well, why not?
Well, I really can't wait until Lady Brewsters gets one. We love the, labor of love that we put into everything. I can't wait to see what this thing does.
But I think what she's saying is she'd really appreciate the 15-minute setup and then the 4-hour drinking time then afterwards that could lead into it.
You're not wrong. But you're not.
Any patents on some of these pieces of the machine, or as a whole? What's that look like?
Yeah, so we have a lot of IP on it.
Okay.
So we have a granted patent on the immersion essentially the heat exchange engine.
Right.
And that really serves as the heart of what Beer Maker does, from a brewing perspective, and then from a fermentation temperature control perspective. So that really stays at the heart of it.
Right.
And we have 3 other patents that are currently pending that relate to the hop processing, the overall composition of the machine, the pressure sensors, and how that responds in real time to yeast. And it's a large, essentially essentially system patent when it comes to how the machine is constructed.
And I don't want to take away from some of Steve's questions because he's got a little more technical questions for you.
We all have so many questions.
But the question becomes, so the integration of your standard like analog heating system, how do you then integrate it into a wireless device that broadcasts over Wi-Fi? Is that something like a standard in the industry where, like not AI, but, mostly automated devices can use? And is it something that you had to develop, individual for this, or was it technology that already existed?
So there are platforms that work from a development perspective. Amazon has one that's really great that I wish was around when we first started developing this. We used another one that was based on Broadcom. It's an open source.
Okay.
And we're in the process of moving away for a better platform.
Yeah.
But there are a set of tools that are available, but they're very basic. Like you have libraries that use, Wi-Fi, that have the Wi-Fi instruction sets.
Right.
So you're able to initiate this library and then connect it over, and then you go up into an Amazon Web Service server.
All right. So it wasn't like something that was extremely unique to what you had to do. It was kind of already there, and you just had to make the connection.
Exactly. The building blocks were there, but that's not to say that it was in any way, shape, or form easy.
Yeah. No, I'm certainly not downplaying it.
Yeah, no, right. So we've really come into this world where these tools exist for developers, and that is causing this proliferation of these connected devices. And in particular, what's great about the uniformity of libraries that exist nowadays is that you can expect them to be stable and to work with routers and not mess up. And that is such a big deal when it comes to the ability for you to have a reliable product and make sure that it's always going to be working, and you can trust it with something as important as making beer.
Yeah, and case in point,
home security or anything like that. So,
a case in point, like Pete, Steve, and I all are logged into our Beer Maker, and so we can kind of watch the process as it goes along. And Pete annoyingly texts us at all times of the night then when things are done. But we get to see that process as a group. You don't have to be an individual. You can kind of use a centralized login and get those updates anywhere in the world. And that's what was really kind of cool. Like you could be on vacation. You could be on vacation and go, oh.
I feel like I would just become so into this that I would just be checking it.
I just can't wait till we get ours.
Right?
All I know is I'm driving home and I get a text message from the both of them. Time to pitch the yeast. Give me 2 seconds to get
Try
home.
out the beer.
Well, I mean, that's pretty real life, Like I was texting them, like, hey, we're adding the guava, or we're doing this today. We're doing the dry hopping. So it's pretty real to life, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of like I said, puts that roadmap out in more of a digital form where you guys can all be part of that, as opposed to sitting around in the brewery and saying, okay, now Tuesday at 5 o'clock we got to do this, and Wednesday. Everything is kind of done for you in that simplified process. And that's got to be kind of what you were looking to do, right, Aaron? I mean, you guys were looking to make it simple enough for the average person to take up a brewing hobby, but at the same time make it as complicated to kind of intrigue those beer nerds to kind of grab one of these and make it into one of their own kind of individual processes.
Exactly. And that was, coming back to the, who did you build this thing for? It's like that was the other group. And that was such an important group because the feedback that we got from so many people was, I love brewing. I have an incredible, all electric brewing system in my basement that I have built over the years and put thousands of dollars and countless hours into. And I've brewed once over this past year. Because things are so crazy. I just want to brew beer again. And this is something that, allows you to just If you have 5 minutes, just go start a batch.
Yeah.
And that's what's
Yeah,
so
pretty
special.
much. It's 5 minutes.
And you've streamlined the ability to buy a kit literally
Yes.
through the app where you can
Yeah.
just boom, done, and it's at your door within a week.
Exactly. We didn't want you to have to leave the app. We didn't want you to have to like go to our website and log in like, oh, what's my login? I forget. So you just open it up. It's like your brewery's here and your, the store's over here. And if you want to get, we do ingredients, we've got all the malts and hops and yeast and all the stuff that you need to actually brew. And then on the other side, you've got your actual brewing happening.
Steve, I know you have a flurry of questions for Aaron. Why don't you start with one of the easiest ones, a softball question, as they call it.
Well, I actually have so pros and cons on the unit.
Wait, we don't have the 3 questions tonight?
We might.
All right, we might. All right, we'll get to that. We're not there yet.
The pros of it, again, so simplistic, so easy to follow instructions. I dig that you guys, each one has one of these cards, comes with whatever beer you're going to produce. And what it basically does, it gives you, it's a list of everything that should come in your kit. What hops, what grain, the amounts, and then it also gives you the amount of water that's going to be in it. So if you don't want to open the app, you have it right on the card. And then you could do a little inventory check as you're laying everything out. The unit is very simple to clean. Very little mess, very little cleanup from what I found. The hardest part was throwing the grain out. And then I put it in the sink and rinsed it down, and that was it. Put it in the dishwasher to give it a real cleaning, along with the
dishwasher, Steve.
That was my exact reaction. That was my exact reaction. We were watching. Like, get the fuck out of here. I just throw all these parts in the fucking dishwasher.
Yep.
And that seems like such a simple thing, but I'm like, because you think of like brewing beer, like everything's got to be sanitized, and you got like all these you see those memes about from like fucking Wort Wrangler, like glorified janitor or something, and then I just throw this shit in my dishwasher. That's fucking great.
The quick disconnect valve.
We're gonna clean in place today. I guess.
I also found again, the simplicity of it, but cleaning, all that was great. Even I was very skeptical about the carbonation in the actual dispensing unit. I don't know if you saw when I first poured this beer, you can see the good lacing on it.
Yep.
Had a nice fluffy head, and that was basically a day and a half to carbonate that. And just using the screw-in CO2 cartridges, and you know what? I put it in the refrigerator, and there it was with my little spout, and I could pour a beer off when I wanted. I like the idea that it's only just over a gallon, because you know what? You're going to drink that really quick, and then it's on to the next beer. So you could do it again, and you could, there's one little thing, and I care less about it, but my family, they actually named the beer maker the Tugboat. Because
about the tugboat.
Yes.
The Tugboat is, there's a 12-hour period where it actually vibrates to kind of settle out any of, particulate, trube, anything to go down into the bottom waste bag. And it makes this.
We were waiting for the moment.
It doesn't do it all day.
Yeah,
it only does it for a little bit. But when my wife's on a conference call and they're like, "Is there a tugboat in the background? Are you by the water?"
Well,
Where
I
are
think
you?
the first mistake was
we didn't know it.
you left the machine literally in the kitchen for everyone to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was right in my kitchen, right on the table, right there. My daughter didn't like it being there because that's where she would make her lunch and breakfast for work, and
just monopolizing the kitchen.
You know what? Hey, I had to make beer, and that's all that mattered. So.
Pete, so recommendation for you: leave the beer maker there in your basement,
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, I can't wait until it makes that noise while I'm on a conference call, and then I get to tell everyone on the conference call I'm brewing beer. Sorry,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, who you?
My bad. Now,
I'm brewing beer.
Yeah.
Aaron, mechanically with the vibration, I mean that was obviously something that has to get done to bring that particulate down to the smaller bag underneath to fill that. What was kind of like the idea here, or the I guess the research, the R&D that goes into that to understand how that kind of settling using gravity, vibration would work?
Right. So most fermenters have a degree of repose, 60%, 65%. It's called the golden angle. We have height restrictions. One of the design constraints is that this thing needs to be short enough to fit under your countertops, under your cabinets, on your countertop.
Right.
So you have 18 inches to work with, and that's it.
Got it. So what we have to do, so we have a 15-degree angle in the brew bag. And in order to overcome that angle, we had to put in a vibratory motor in order to have the shimmy the waist down to function like a traditional conical would.
So you're saying if you wanted the 60, you'd have to make a much taller machine to get that height to get the part. Yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah, exactly.
Math nerds make the beer roll go around.
Exactly. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, and the other piece so we've got obviously a ton of feedback on vibratory motor. Part of it is the dampening, and that's why you have that kind of like tugboat, the deep vibration. So we're working on the dampening to improve it.
Bro, I'm not even going to joke around. I put a blanket over it one day because I was getting so much shit from everybody in my house.
Yeah. So what you can do, what we've just released in the latest firmware. I'm not sure if it's gotten to your machine yet, but
firmware. Holy shit.
So if you hear it vibrating, you're like, I'm on a conference call, I can't do it. You just press the button on the front and it silences the vibration for an hour.
Get out of here.
Ooh, nice.
Or likewise, let's say you're in there and you're like, man, there's a lot of yeast building up. You flick the bag a little bit and then hit the button and then it will start vibrating.
Oh, so you got both ways of a manual kind of moment where you have time. All right, it's 4 o'clock. I'm not doing anything. Boom.
Exactly.
This is so wild.
Yeah.
So
wild.
And then we also have quiet hours in the app, so you can just set it like I'm sleeping,
and I did.
or I'm working.
I had it from 9:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night would be the only time it could go off, because the very first day I didn't think of this. I have to say it was probably about maybe 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and I'm in bed and I'm like, what the hell is that noise? And I'm like, I run down the stairs and I'm like, and little beer maker is doing his job in the tugboat, and so that's when I realized, wait a minute, I thought I saw something, and we were good.
And that's great. I mean, the point is, if you do that update, then you have almost full manual control over time. And now, is there a specific amount of time over that kind of period where it has to do it? What did you set that?
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing. So
you can't give the person at home too much control. You can only
no, exactly, and that is it begins to become overwhelming. So we're putting those controls into the DIY section. So
right.
If you want to run those sorts of custom cycles, you can. So when you're going to choose your yeast strain, there's actually an option that you get to select how fast that yeast sediments. And the sedimentation option dictates how often that vibe motor turns on. Okay. So certain yeast like the SO4 that the Future IPA uses, that sediments really quickly and hard. And if you're not continually moving that yeast out of there, it turns into peanut butter on the bottom. Yes. Whereas other yeast like USO5 and the Chico strains, like they're a lot more powdery and they sediment over a longer period of time, so you really don't have to run the motor as much.
So,
gotcha.
Interesting.
My big thing was when I first got the machine and I was reading up on it and the videos and I'm like, this fucking thing doesn't boil.
Nope.
How are we? And in my head, I'm like, all right. In my head, I'm thinking diacetyl. I'm thinking DMS. I'm thinking all these different things that I would normally get out of my brew via boiling.
Yep.
Now it's I'm like, okay, I saw, the temperature ranges, what you guys were looking to do. I think we were at like 172 was like our top, but it stayed there for basically 24 hours, it seemed like.
Maybe like hour and a half is about what it did. But the time it takes to get up and then down, it is a 24-hour cycle. Yeah. And it's interesting, during the development, we actually worked with the Cybele Institute and with all of these problems. And
Wait, there's a Cycle Institute, Aaron?
You shut up. It's Cybele, you idiot.
Oh, I thought you said cycle. I'm like, there's a Cycle Institute that just deals with this cycles?
I was there with you. I heard cycle.
That's how I did. It's a good old Zoom.
I knew exactly what you said, Aaron.
All right, fair enough.
I heard it as Cybele too.
Okay. You have headsets on. I have this head. No, forget it. Sorry.
Sure.
So the fascinating thing about not boiling is there are multiple reasons why you boil. First is isomerization of hops.
Yep.
Second is to volatilize off your dimethyl sulfide.
Yep.
But what's interesting about the dimethyl sulfide volatilization is you only get dimethyl sulfide conversion from S-methylmethionine at boiling temperatures. So you actually don't even get dimethyl sulfide if you're under boil temps.
Ah.
So
you're not triggering it or getting rid of it.
I don't hear the speakers.
Right. That makes sense.
So I heard a lot of people talk at the same time.
That's right.
And couldn't.
No, I just said that makes sense. If you're not triggering the reaction, then you're not going to have to worry about getting rid of the reaction.
Exactly. And then the other one would be, we get less tannin out of it because you're not getting up to those extraction temperatures where you get all of that tannin getting pulled out of your solid matter. And then,
really quick, Michelle, are you getting flashbacks of today with Ian?
What?
Are you getting flashbacks of today hanging out with Ian?
What's happening?
Yeah, so Aaron, just to give you some grounding on this one. So Ian at North Fork Brewing Company, we had him in last year for a show. Ian.
Oh, he scienced out.
Scienced out big time.
He Ian'd out.
And we weren't making fun of him, but we were saying it sounds like he came straight from Stony Brook Laboratories to tell us all about how.
I think he's very proud of that, actually.
Absolutely, he's
out of there. Yeah.
Pete and our heads were just spinning, just thinking about what the hell he just said. We know.
I mean, he was a chemist for Estee Lauder.
Welcome to the brew club of North Fork. You have all sorts of characters.
Oh yeah.
And
Ian being one of.
Just
favorites.
the knowledge that he unloaded on that show.
Oh yeah.
And to be honest with you, now sometime later, maybe a year and a half later, I kind of understand what you're saying with the process that goes into it. The more and more we interview people and talk to people about the brewing process, the more we get familiarized with the language and everything. And for the people that are watching at home and the people that are online listening that understand these processes, they're getting a huge amount of knowledge. I'm just still blown away by the amount of research that had to go into these processes and who you had to contact, who you had to go through. I mean, just give me a time frame. How long did it take to develop this machine?
Well, I'll give you this.
Yeah.
That thought process of pasteurization, fantastic. Because it cuts that whole thing of, let me sanitize every single thing I'm going to touch today. That's one of the pros too. That was big on my list.
Yeah. So it took about 4 years to develop this thing.
Jesus.
And it was just a lot of this first ideation of like what kind of system would satisfy both beginner brewers and alleviate the problems that I felt very close to. Of I hate sanitizing, I hate bottling, I hate transferring, I hate washing things. Like my brew day is sitting around waiting for water to get hot and I'm scrubbing.
Like 87% of the brewing process, yes.
Exactly. So let's get rid of it, right? Is there any way we can just get rid of all of that bullshit and then just focus on what makes brewing wonderful?
Yes, we got Aaron to curse. Woo! Enough fucks from Steve, from Pete, and a couple of shits from me and Steve. And yes, we got you.
Yeah, well, so I mean, it's real. It's real. Like this stuff is like, it's the reason. Like I've in this process, I've had 2 little boys. They take up all of my time. They're wonderful, and like I can't. I don't have capacity anymore to sit around and scrub pots all day. You know, so it's like what the goal was is like let's take the labor out of brewing, but leave the craft. And if we can do that, then I think we're onto something.
You didn't make that your tagline?
No, I just thought about that.
Yeah,
should.
that should be the next tagline.
Put that on.
Put that
Yeah,
shit on the
go-
website
That
tomorrow.
can go right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on the side.
Labor out, craft in. Boom.
I like that, actually.
Yes.
I don't know. My whole career is based on the labor.
well, this is only a gallon, so you still have a job.
Exactly. There's
But
no
it
way we
brings
could
to
do-
the idea too, like bringing science to the table is absolutely a necessity, and bringing art to the table is absolutely a necessity. But I think when you marry the two and find joy in the overall experience is when you're gonna, you know, get your Lady Brewsters fragile like a bomb.
I mean, it's well put. I mean, that's people love the process. Not that you're truly removing all of the craft out of it, but you're simplifying the process for the people that do not have the time but still love the craft. My question is just based upon recipes. I know Steve and I were talking about this. Who developed all these recipes you guys offer? Who came up with the scaling down portions? Who came up with all of that?
So it was myself and a guy he's been with us forever. This guy, Chris Manley. Between the two of us, like we just brew all the time. We're making recipe after recipe, we're changing this. He's like, oh, I just found this really awesome recipe, or I want to experiment with these ingredients. And so he's incredibly adventurous. He's got an amazing palate, way better than mine. I'm more of the kind of the brewing process nerd, and he's more of the artist who kind of pushes us forward. You know, we've
You need a team.
Yeah, exactly.
You need a team.
Look
Exactly.
at Pete and Ian. There you go.
Yeah.
Great
For
team.
Sure, 100%.
Yeah, it does, and we've said that a couple of times on this show. There's a bunch of teams out there that, you know, one's heavily science, one's heavily, into the craft and the experimentation. We talked a little bit with Motion, you know, Chris and Angel, a very good team. They put together that same concept. One's very technically oriented, and the other one's very, you know, experimental and wants to really push the boundaries. And together, you know, people are making great beer, and I think that's a great, you know, parallel to what Beer Maker has been doing along the way here.
Yeah, there's tension. There's always tension between the sides.
Also that.
Yes.
There's that.
You know, and it's a good point. And without that, you don't get anywhere close to, as you know, where we've gotten. And in you know, it's like you look at all of these other sorts of environments as well, and it's always the pull between two extremes that gets you ultimately to where.
Now, Aaron, you guys just released the Belgian wit recipe.
Yes.
That just came out this week. What took you to get there? How long you been working on that one? And just give us a quick little breakdown of that one, because
All right, so that one is embarrassingly hilarious.
Bring the
So
computer closer so I can hear. Why is it
We were-
embarrassing?
so it's almost embarrassing, that one. So we were developing a Dunkelweizen. And there were some, and we were just trying to troubleshoot the grain bill. There was some flavor in it that we didn't like, and you know, it was a water level thing, with some sulfuric acid rests, and so we were like messing around with some mash schedules, and we put our ghost wheat up as a control as we were doing this Dunkelweizen experiments. We're like, all right, so we know this particular configuration is working well, so we're going to do a control on this on the grain side, and then we're going to brew out on the Dunkelweizen side, and like we're going to try to match them. And then just because it was a grain experiment, we're like, well, I'm going to throw in some noble hops and Belgian yeast in this. And it blew us away. Like the end result of that was just mind blowing. Like we had other people who, are commercial brewers like come over and like they were like tasting our beers and like taste it and like, yep, that's it.
Yep.
That's it checks every box for your Belgian wit. Like,
now make me more, Aaron. Make
exactly
another round.
It's like that was our first try. We just threw some stuff.
Great job. Great job.
Yeah, and it was nuts. But like other beers, like with Dunkelweizen, like we've been working on it for months and months and months, and like we've gone through like a dozen iterations of it, different grain bills. We're trying different, malts from different malting houses, like trying to get some of the terroir from the German malts, pulling those in and like matching them against commercial examples. And it's a real challenge. And
now the majority of like your churro and all that, is that Briess?
So we're either Briess or Great Western.
Okay.
So Great Western, they're good. We've used some RAR as well, but it's generally the big two. The
one thing we were really kind of surprised about is the amount of sexy hops that you guys offer in some of your beers, like the Smash series with the sexy hops. That's right, the Citra, the Mosaic, the Galaxies. I mean, there's a real demand in the industry for these particular ingredients. How are you getting your hands on the appropriate amount to supply the people that are using the beer maker?
Well, it's incredibly
especially the steam hops.
And they're steam hops, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So the steam hops, that's tough, So we're producing steam hops, and they are. We have to get them in leaf, like whole cone.
Yeah.
You can't start with pellet. You have to start with the original off the vine leaf in order to do the process correctly. So, for those unfamiliar with steam hops, they're essentially just whole cone hops that have gone through a steam process for 10, 20, 30, 40, 60 minutes. And during that process, you get isomerization of your alpha acids and you get volatilization of those more low temperature volatile oils. So what that does after we then dry it and then pelletize them and package them is you have the same flavor profile and bitterness profile as if that hop had been boiled.
And the key there is the bitterness.
Exactly.
And keeping that in the process.
Exactly.
And it's again, and when I read that too, I was like, this is a great idea because you're putting them in at the same time, but depending on what they are, 60-minute, 30-minute, 15, fantastic idea.
You get that flavor mix, exactly. So it's akin to just using different malts in your mash. You just throw all your malts in at the same time, and then all of their individual components come out, whether they're complex sugars or simple sugars or, like the higher Lovabond malts, you get the flavor, you get the mallards coming out of there. We're just doing the same thing with hops.
Yeah.
And you get the oil mix, you get the bitter mix, and it just dramatically simplified the process. And that's the other piece that was the key to making this thing a truly, 5-10 minute endeavor is if you're over here loading hops into different slots and then programming, all right, now this one at this minute, that one. I mean, it then really disrupts things for the beginner brewers, and it destroys the value proposition that we were going for the, let's call it the overwhelmed retired brewer who wants to get back in, or the person just trying to rapidly prototype some things.
And I'm sure you probably answered this in that, but the benefit to steam hops is that it simplifies the process. Does it keep the hop longer in its sealed package?
Yes, it does. And that's another really cool thing is when the alpha acids are in their isoalpha acid salt form, they are stable. They don't degrade like they do when they're in their alpha acid form.
Right, because if anyone has tried to keep hops over time, keep it in a sealed, vacuum sealed pouch or something like that for the home brewers, you can't really keep it even in the fridge for any more than 3-5 months, maybe if that. And then at the same time, you got to now think ahead. What's my next brew? When's my brew day for that? You got to really schedule it out. Here, we're talking about keeping it a little longer and being able to brew with it with the same flavor complex that was initially, happening right at the beginning.
Exactly. You can keep them at room temperature. The oils will change a little bit, but you're not going to be getting degradation of your isoalpha acids. And that's the real, it's a huge benefit when it comes to ability to ship and have it retain its integrity.
Oh,
it's massive.
I was interested about that too, because when we had gotten our 2 kits with the beer maker, I'm like, all right, depending on how many units you're shipping out and how many kits you're shipping out is how much you're going to go through your inventory of grains and hops. And my first couple things were, obviously yeast and hops were the main 2. Like, okay, those could easily degrade, especially yeast could, over time, even though it's you're using the dry, which I always found is you could go years and still get a decent product out of it. But hops, they could easily lose their luster, so to speak, for the layman. But again, you guys really put a lot of thought process in this, man.
We spent a lot of time on this.
I'm telling you, because every little thing, like I tried to pick, I'm like, wait, nope, they already thought of that one, and nope, they thought of that one, and so and again, I was very, very skeptical when I got the machine, and I'm like, because again, I'm a brewer, and our day revolves around cleaning and sanitizing and mashing and all that, and transferring. That's the other thing, transferring a beer from one vessel to another. You always have a chance of something happening, whether it's contamination, DO, dissolved oxygen in there. Just again, losing.
Sorry, Clam for president.
I did find this too. Another pro when I emptied all the beer out of both of the beers we done. There was nothing left in the bag, like literally just some residue, some, a little bit of particulate. Yeah. I was thinking, it's gonna be like a few ounces left in the corner. There was nothing left in the bag.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how you can, in particular, like you pull your last little bit and it's like nice clear beer, and then you open the bag and you're like, oh wow, look at that sediment. That just
and all along the sides and the corners. And I'm sold. I mean, I tell everybody, I go, the majority of home brewers that I know and that most of the guys know, is for them, it's all about the process. We're going to spend 12 hours today of cleaning and sanitizing and drinking beer and talking about beer and it's but this, for that person which we have a lot now, that live in an apartment and don't have the room to put all the equipment, to put carboys, to put pots and sanitizing equipment, and
this but it stuff, also seems like a great resource to breweries in general, as a substitute for a pilot system, right? Like you really try and hone in and figure out, your great ideas without spending, a lot of time and or money.
Yep.
One of the beers we're going to actually brew on this we're actually going to share it. It went from me, now it's Pete. From Pete's going to Mikey, and
it's
then back to
the sisterhood of the traveling brewing machine. That's how we call it. Yes.
When it comes back to me, I'm actually going to brew one of the beers that I brewed.
Oh boy!
Which beer is it going to be?
Not the Oktoberfest, as we
no, not the Worttoberfest. No. Oh,
is that actually, that was a question I had, Aaron? Is there a Marzen style coming in a few months?
Yeah, that's another one that we've been.
I want a double bock. There should be more double bocks in our universe.
Yes.
There should be more sours. There should be a lot more other things.
So both of those things we're brewing right now. Like I've got a Doppelbock on tap in the office, and and a sour. I just finished our first sour.
Nice.
Wow.
Ooh. Aaron, here's a question. How many beer makers do you have in your office?
We have, so we've got the brewing lab, and that has 16 that are just always going. So we're just iterating and iterating and iterating, and then we have another 12 that are set up to do just like side-by-side process experiments.
I curse a lot, but
Test
I'm
out,
pretty
like,
sure I'm not
firmware and
supposed to
stuff.
here. So that's a GD think tank you got
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
For real.
You have
So you've got 16 doing like testing out recipes, and then another dozen testing out like different temperatures or schedules or
You got it.
firmware
Wow.
updates.
It's
So,
incredible.
Like the other 12 that are going, like dialing in our like, we want to make some changes to our Redwood IPA. There's just not enough nose on the hops in it, so we've got 6 of those going side by side, and we're doing slight hop tweaks to
That's
each one.
awesome.
Just fucking 6 of them just sitting there running.
So how many brews are you starting a week, let's say?
Per week, we're going through probably 10 or 15 beers in a week.
Wow.
That
Damn, son.
Yeah.
Just kind of
I think that we need to take a field trip
To Colorado. Go to the-
all the time.
I think when you send us our beer maker, you should have us over for how to use it.
Well, how about this? You travel out to Colorado. You can visit the beer.
There you
That's what we're saying.
See, they're all
Pull it
about
out, pick up a beer maker. We'll drink some beers,
There
and
you
you
go.
show me how where you put the honey into that.
where
one.
we put the honey.
It's a good trade-off.
In Colorado, bro.
I like it, especially in Colorado. Aaron, so I mean, with all those, like you said, the iterations running in that, what has been like the common thread here throughout all of those processes that has said, okay, if we do this, then that. If we have something that happens here, it happens there. What has been like the biggest kind of turnout where you know, okay, I have a direction where I should head, and that's what I'm going to do, like my 6 into or whatever it is going to be?
Yeah, so probably just having, working with a lot of scientists that we have. N=3 is a thing that we like are mandating that happens. So if you're doing anything, in particular when it comes to releasing a recipe, for example, we have to be able to brew it 3 times, either in succession or side by side, and have them come out the same way in order for us to feel comfortable moving forward with it.
Quality control. Yeah,
exactly. So that's a huge piece of it, and it's obviously it's massive because you can remove like externalities and like, we forgot to put hops in this one. I don't know, something like that.
There's a human error or something that happens throughout the process.
It can happen.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like if something does happen to one of them, then we at least have another 2. Or if one is like totally off, like why is this one not on?
Right.
And that's it was that N=3 is like how we began working on this Dunkelweiss thing. And the challenge with it was that we were using more malts, and the wheat was absorbing more water than the other.
I see.
And then, so what was happening, you put in the same amount of water that you normally do. And then, so like this is a barley recipe, this is your wheat recipe. And then what happens, it absorbs, and then the water level goes back here. And then, so the malt above that, they don't get up to pasteurization temperature.
Gotcha.
So you get this like souring that's happening, like trying to get that dialed, and that's why we were bringing our other wheats back into it, and then was able to really get that particular component dialed, and it was a really cool ability for us to have 16 machines sitting in our brewing lab.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that really is cool. It'd be cool to just take a picture of that and send it to me. I'm just so interested in seeing 16 beer makers lined up on the counter. I
just want to hear when all the tugboats go off.
It's a good thing, when we're around like having meetings upstairs, like our we've got a little room office thing.
Oh, that'd be terrible, right? One after the other, it'd be terrible.
Yeah.
You alluded to it before. You looking into doing a sour recipe and stuff like that. What would be the next recipe that's kind of very close to being released after the Belgian wit?
Probably that Dunkelweizen.
Okay.
The Dunkelweizen is so close.
Mhm.
And we're looking at, so we got this Dunkelweizen and the Marzen.
Okay.
And both of those are we've been working on them for a while. They've been the kind of in the troubleshooting stage, and they're just about there, and it's really exciting. And then we've got coming up in early May, we're hoping to be releasing a Mexican lager.
Ooh,
there you go.
So,
bingo.
Crispy boy.
Crispy for the summertime.
yeah.
Nice.
So it's exciting. And then obviously we've got, we've just started doing recipe development on a sour and a pills also for the summer.
Oh, nice.
So super, super exciting. Hopefully we can get those out maybe end of May, early June.
Lady Brewsters, if we get our hands on the sour or the Pilsner, we will definitely be sending some out. We'll have a
Pilsner,
nice
100%.
The burner was turned on in the brewery, so we are literally, I don't know if you've noticed, we've literally
Why we're acting out, like, we can't.
We're getting closer and closer because
we can't hear anything.
Oh, so
We'll judge all of you.
We
by
can't
your
hear the
filters,
vibration,
so
but
yes.
you can't hear us. I got it. All
No,
right.
there's no tugboat in the brewery.
So I just kind of looking forward, is there something that you guys really want to develop that you haven't even started yet? Is there another style that you're like, we need to do this, but we're just so inundated?
I mean, I think you're coming around back
Hoppy
on that
lager.
other question that we glazed over.
Which one was that?
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah. So styles that we're really wanting to do would be some big big barrel aged beers, and
okay.
they're challenging, obviously, because your ability to put ingredients in short term is, you're limited to however long it's sitting in your beer maker when you have access to that brew tub.
Right.
So we've been experimenting with some like the stout is you can actually put oak cubes directly.
Oh, God damn it!
The
Fucking read my mind.
And what's so cool about doing that is you go through the hot side with it, and because you're not boiling, you're not pulling all those tannins out of the oak. So it just stays there. It goes up, it sanitizes the oak, and then it just pulls all that lovely oak out over a longer period of time. It's incredibly strong, like day one out of the tap, but by the end of week 2, it's amazing.
Well, here's a question. What adjunct can't you add to the beer maker? What's something that there's no way it's
What's
never
something that you killed a machine with?
It's
orange honey blossom.
I mean, it's a great question. I think there's
molasses.
The traditional, let's call it a traditional sour is a challenge, because you've got to do let's call it a wild sour. Like if you're using Brettanomyces or those bugs, there's always the fear that they're going to somehow get stuck in your system somewhere. And in particular, when it comes to the line that goes into your CO2 system, I'm pretty sure if you're using Brettanomyces, you're never going to get that out.
Yep.
So that would be
unit.
Right.
Yeah, you'd have
Also, Brett is present everywhere.
Right.
Right? It's everywhere.
It should be right. It is the issue.
So just clean your systems.
Yes, you should definitely do that. And the challenge is, if you're dealing with brand new people who aren't familiar with using brewing grade sanitizers, so we're kind of we're straddling that line, and it becomes a question of like how much, when it comes to making our regular, like the kits that are available to everybody, where's the line? Like how much can we expect the brand new person to do versus the person who wants to be adventurous and try it? And so we've really begun diverging at least those thought processes into 2 different sections on the app. And so if you're really trying to get crazy with it, you can go into your DIY and you can get full control over all of those pieces. But if you're going to stay on a little bit more with like, let's just brew some beer real quick, and then you just go with the straight kits.
Yeah.
So it's hard, you know, and I think we're going to learn more as we go along and what people are willing and able to do. And it's a challenge.
Yeah.
So,
Steve, we're running out of time, and I want to get to your tradition here of 3 questions, as I alluded to before early in the show. Go ahead, and I'll sing the theme song. Steve, 3 questions, 3 questions. All right, Steve, got
Theme
it.
song?
Okay.
I got to develop some sort of jingle for him. I still haven't done it yet. It's been a crazy couple weeks.
So I
I'll
always
sing
ask,
it.
There you go.
I always ask 3
Steve,
questions. I always ask 3 questions, and I learned from doing the 3 questions that you can only ask 1 question at a time, because after the first one, everybody forgets the second and third one. So we'll actually start with Aaron. Aaron, what was that first craft beer that turned you on to craft beer?
I was in Ireland and had a Guinness.
Oh,
I was
nice.
18, and I was blown away. Just blown away. I mean, craft beer. Yeah, I think that the delineations are a challenge to talk about, and what we have built as craft beer in the American zeitgeist. But like Guinness is good for you. And has been around for a long time. And I, coming back from, being at a high school party where there's just like Red Dog and Busch Light, and then
Red Dog. Wow.
Wow.
Throwback.
Natty
Exactly.
Ice.
And then coming into a place where you've got this head that's so thick you could like put your freaking
Donut.
coins on. Like it was like, I mean, it was a mind-blowing experience, and that was the thing that I was like, all right, there's a lot more to this than we're able to access on our side of the pond.
Huh.
And then continuing to go around the UK and just try different beers from different places, and it was just an entirely mind-blowing experience.
Cool.
And then came back and haven't really stopped.
Went from there.
Yeah.
Ladies?
Same question?
Same question.
Oh, okay.
What was that craft beer that turned you on to craft beer?
Newcastle Brown Ale.
Oh my
College.
God.
That's funny. We got that answer. I think last show, right, from one of the
Oh, who was
homebrewers.
it?
I don't know. I think it was. Was it from Beer? Was it Justin from Beer?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Definitely came up.
Yeah, it definitely came out.
Yeah, but nothing stuck out to me in my college years on Long Island of just, showing up to a party with something a little extra. And Newcastle Brown Ale was 100%. Came through
Nut
every time.
brown. Love the nut brown. It was a great one in high school. I
It was
loved that one.
delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Sheila
I think
Michelle?
for me, I was very fortunate to live near Blue Point, like in their very beginnings. So I spent a lot of time there, and that was kind of like my introduction into local craft beer. And from there, it just kind of branched out, like they were doing something that not a lot of people on the island were doing.
Which
And
one was it?
local.
Which brew was it, Sheila?
Oh gosh. I mean, their toasted lager, obviously, like always is a staple.
Love it.
Right? Yeah. You can drink.
You're
it all the
lying if you don't.
time. Right.
You're lying.
Right. But I also really fell in love with their blueberry.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
And
I
there's
remember
nothing
that.
quite like having it from the source, fresh. Like it was just like eye-opening that beer could be so different. I grew up in a household where beer was Budweiser, and before that, I think it was maybe Schmitz in a bottle or something like that. Like my dad was old school, and that's the kind of beer that he drank.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to get him into IPAs, even to this day.
He's got that palate. He's ready to go with the Bud and the Bud Heavies and.
Side note, I will drink a Coors Banquet Tall Boy any day.
You can't forget your roots and where you came from.
Well, funny you say that. I was watching the Mets and the Colorado Rockies game the other day, Sunday. By the way, Aaron, Colorado Rockies fan? Are you more of an upstate fan? What do you do for baseball?
Yeah, we're looking at you, Harry.
That's
Come
right.
on.
No, I'm largely outside of the world of baseball.
Okay.
I've sold my soul to the Denver Broncos.
Oh, there you go. All right, fair enough.
So,
All right.
So.
No, that's good. At least you got something there. You got some sort of winning history with a team that you root for. But in the crowd at the Rockies game, so many people had tall boy Coors Banquets. I noticed it so much.
Because this Coors Light taking over my banquets universe of tall boys is really making me mad.
Yeah.
So,
it was amazing to see all those yellow cans, 22 ounce cans.
I think that they're going through a revitalization where so many people are like going back to that.
The champagne of beers, of course.
The champagne of beers. Absolutely.
It is called Coors Field for a reason.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm assuming you do not get a discount at Coors Field for your Coors Banquet. You're going to still pay $47 for your beer, but it's fine.
Right.
Michelle, same question over to you.
I'm embarrassed to say it's probably John Harvard's pumpkin.
That's not embarrassing.
Fantastic.
R.I.P. John Harvard.
Yeah, that was a staple on Long Island. I remember that being one of the first pumpkin beers I ever had.
Well, I mean, at this point in the beer industry, it's like, pumpkin, like every the vein of every brewer's existence is like
She's lying. She's lying.
But John Harvard's definitely
They did it right.
Yeah.
When you get a good pumpkin, you got a good pumpkin, and they had a great pumpkin.
Aaron, any experimentation with pumpkin beers?
Please no.
He's like, just don't bother.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were planning on launching or releasing Beer Maker many times. COVID was not kind to us, but
No.
we actually had a pumpkin recipe that we were really happy with and we're going to launch with. But like most pumpkin beers, like you can't taste the pumpkin in it. It's all the
just
spice.
stick with the Marzen. Stick with the Marzen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it is kind of cool to like crack open a can of pumpkin and just dump it into the top of the maker.
As it slurps out.
Right.
Steve, question number 2 for the roundtable.
Leaf pile.
Oh, good question. I'm going to call it a seasonal.
All right.
Because it doesn't have the pumpkin name on it, though it has pumpkin elements to it. So I used to bartend up at the Muttontown Country Club, and I was advocating.
Which country club?
Muttontown.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know who I was talking to. I'm sorry.
Little hoity-toity. Listen, I wasn't a member. Slow down. But I was advocating for years for them to get craft beer on tap. The first one they were able to get, Greenport Leaf Pile. It was amazing. And the whole club was amazed by it. And I go, see, I told everybody, friggin' get something in here. And it was a little mainstream for the time, but yet it satisfied everyone's kind of need for something different, something new. So
it's a good solid beer.
Yeah, it was a good starting point for, especially in the seasonal time, and it worked out very well. And you know what? We had a wedding, and that thing went like hotcakes. People were like sneaking into the bar that they weren't allowed to come into just to get Leaf Pile on tap. They're like, oh, I need another Leaf Pile. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm not rimming this one, so you can go screw yourself. Here you go.
I'm not rimming it. Yeah.
No, not happening.
Also, right? Yeah, because Greenport doesn't want to do that either.
No, I don't blame you.
Nobody wants to
Enjoy Leaf Pile as it was supposed to be, without a rim.
Mm-hmm.
No rims. Steve, question number 2. Go for it.
Question number 2. Aaron, what's your favorite style?
It depends on what I'm drinking. Usually whatever's in front of me.
Okay, not the wrong answer.
So it's a really tough question. If I had to drink just one style right now,
forever.
It would forever. Oh God.
Forever.
Wow, you
I changed the game. Sorry, I apologize.
Like desert island question.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's call it just classic pale ale.
Oh,
desert island. We're gonna go classic pale ale.
I like it. Could be a little hoppy, a little juicy.
Yeah.
Loving a little pale. Like it. Katie?
Okay. So if I have to to one style of beer forever
Mm.
that I'm going to drink. It's going to be something experimental, innovative, and from a barrel.
Oh.
Barrel, nice.
Interesting. Sheila?
If it's gonna be forever, that's kind of a hard call.
Yeah.
I'm a big sour fan. I mean, like 90% of the beer that I buy is different sours. But I also really just like beer that tastes like beer. I'm a sucker for a really, really clean Pilsner.
I mean, a
Love
beer that tastes like beer is sure is what we did here.
And I'm also really a sucker for a West Coast IPA.
Oh my
Like
God,
something that's super
yes.
clean and crisp and hoppy. I love that.
Because you can drink them all year round.
Yeah. So my first would definitely be sour, but followed up by the other two.
Okay. Michelle?
Honestly, I really love lambics or Flanders.
Oh, going
So-
bougie on us, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like no one like if more people would put out lambics, obviously it's more time consuming, but lambics is just so much more dedication to it. I love lambics. But yeah, second would be West Coast for sure.
Do you like a good farmhouse or wild ale?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're in that world there. That's good.
I think it's Michelle's first.
Steve, question number 3.
And finally, number 3, Aaron, what would be your go-to beer if you were in a restaurant and, you see that one beer and you're like, oh, that's the one I want to have. And it can't be beer maker either.
No, if there's one beer in a restaurant, it's what I did 2 days ago, and it would be a Melvin 2x4.
Oh,
nice.
Melvin.
What? Yeah. Say it again.
Melvin Brewing, man.
Melvin 2x4.
Yep.
From Jackson, Wyoming, the Hollywood.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me more about Melvin 2x4 from Jackson, Wyoming.
They're distributed world nationwide, I would think, but even worldwide, I've seen it in local distributors. Yeah.
What is it though? What is the style? What is it?
It's a double IPA.
Ooh.
And it's just I can't even really tell what they do in particular with it, but they've got a level of refinement in it that is it's rare, and I find, at least in
I've had their beer at GABF, and man, they do a great job, those guys.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're expanding their distribution. It's stuff is starting to creep into the East Coast here, and look for it because
I'd love to see more of the middle of the country for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even like Three Floyds has crept up here from Baltimore, right?
Oh yeah,
and a bunch of places have, especially during COVID, they found the need to expand and distribute more widely, and so we're starting to get in all parts of the country more variety, more choices, that's really awesome.
And
Katie?
beer services too.
Oh yeah, of course.
You can order beer from almost everywhere.
Yeah.
Tavor with beer shipped right to your door.
Craft Shack, tap room.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just keep getting boxes delivered. And I'm like, I don't know where that came from.
Really?
No
I
idea
wish
how
that
that-
Hundreds of dollars on Tavor.
Yeah.
Sounds like
During the
just
beginning
fine.
of
Well, you should have used promo code WORT, W-O-R-T, and you could have received 10% off your Tavor package.
Damn.
Oh man.
Well, now I know for the next spot.
Well, we haven't re-upped our invitation with them. So you had your opportunity in season 3.
All right.
But that's all right. Katie, what about that go-to beer that Steve was asking about?
Oh, I mean, I think I already answered this. It's my Coors Banquet.
Oh,
Tall
okay.
boy.
Okay, fair enough.
But
Sheila?
if I'm all right, maybe no, I'm answering a different question. Yes, it's my Coors Banquet. Tall boy. Yes.
Okay. Sheila?
I don't really know how to answer that, honestly, because, it's so hard to find like that beer that you love that's on tap at all of these different locations,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
it's hypothetical.
Yeah.
What's that beer you go in and it's going to be on tap, but and it can't be
So more so like a
beer
more
from where you
common
work.
craft beer selection.
Right, correct, yeah.
Not too broad, not too broad, but just
We'll say
mean, Coors
not
is
too
okay.
local or regionalized, but something a little more broader.
like something like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Yes,
something like
those
that.
too.
Yeah,
There you
okay.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe like a all day IPA.
Oh,
Yeah,
like,
all
you
the
go.
IPA is
I'm
in
gonna go with
season
that.
right now.
Yeah.
Or like a
less
60
unique,
minute.
for sure.
I would go for 60 minute.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Those are always safe choices.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike loves the 60-minute. Mike
Sure
has been on a
does.
60-minute.
Yeah.
Mike is still aging his 120. There it is.
120 is like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
you got to be ready to sip this out of a snifter
yes,
like
you
a
have to
whiskey.
be ready.
Hey,
But that all day
Mike.
really is
Yeah.
Mike.
reliable.
It's
I don't know
It's
if you saw in
reliable.
my fridge.
Yeah.
I have a 120 from 2011 I got from Dogfish Head.
Do you? Ah, I
Nice.
did not see that. This one, I don't know I don't have a date on it, but I know it's at least 4 to 5 years old, and it has the dust on it to prove it. If you could see it off the edge
Drink
there.
it and let us know how that's going.
Well,
Yeah.
I might be able to, at one point, if we are able to get out of our houses and get some place where we can enjoy beers together,
We
I'll
share.
bring this out and we'll taste
Yes.
a 5-year-old aged Dogfish 120.
I love.
I'm here
love
for that.
beers.
Oh my God, so many
Same.
they hold up. We did a collab with LIBME the other day, and the guys from LIBME brought a Bell's 11-year-old exhibition stout, and it
Wow.
was, oh my God, it was incredible.
Jesus.
Incredible.
That's a heavily
And
aged
to give
stout.
North Fork a ton of credit for always supporting home
Homebrewers,
brewing
yeah.
and Lady Brewsters and all of that.
Yeah, and
We
the
all
boys from
really appreciate
LIBME, spoke very heavily about the breweries here on Long Island and the support that they're given, the meetings that are scheduled, the hosting that happens. They were at Uber Geek. They were at
Yes.
where else? Peconic, I think they were at one
Peconic
point.
County
Yeah, just hosted them there. I mean, like I said, the outreach and the networking here on Long Island is amazing, and all it does is produce that next generation of brewers that are going to come out and start a good brewery and perpetuate the great craft movement here on Long Island and
This
even
is
in New York.
not an easy industry across the board for men, women, however anybody identify, really.
Yeah.
Like, it is so hard, and you can't describe it to anybody that's
But
not
I
a
do
part
think
of it.
it's like the 7 degrees from Kevin Bacon. You
Yes.
know, there's always someone that's interrelated with someone
Oh,
else.
Yes.
This brewer brewed here, here, and here.
Because it's a desolate island.
Right
you know,
now-
so we have to make sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Right now, the head brewer at Peconic, it was my assistant,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and my other assistant is now the brewer at Long Island.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
The
it's all
head
really
brewer
exciting.
And-
Mustache just opened Uber Geek.
Yep.
And
The
Ian
head brewer at North Fork, owner used to be at Mustache. Like,
and Ian used to intern with me from North Fork.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
all goes
oh my
around.
God.
Back in
Yeah.
the day.
All
It takes
intertwined.
a village
Yes.
across
Yeah.
the board.
Yeah, I
it
like
takes
that.
a village. to
There
do
you
that.
go.
Yeah.
I want to get to some, basically you guys giving us some information. We'll start with you, ladies. Give us the big plug. Give us some information about what's left, where people can find the beer, where people can get it. There goes my cans.
I was gonna say, not there, obviously.
Not there.
No,
you're done.
everything is
Done,
empty on
you're
this side.
done.
You can't come to the O'Toole household because we are fresh out of beer right now. But give us the big plug. Where can people find you online and all the social media contacts?
Yeah, ladybrewsters.com. We're on Instagram as Lady Brewsters, Facebook, Lady Brewsters of the North Fork. If you're looking for the beer, we just dropped off fresh cases to Hopscotch and
Yeah.
Bellport beer. And if you are looking to have it in-house or buy the cans, Eastern Front, Jamesport, Long Island has a very small batch. Peconic County, Tradewinds, and Uber Geek. Greenport and North Fork are out of it completely. But hit up one of those breweries, support them, and proceeds will go towards ECLI and Vibes for survivors of abuse.
Awesome.
Very good.
Aaron, give us yeah, very good. Thank you very much. Aaron, big plug for a beer maker here. And again, thank you very much for being sponsors of the show. We'll continue to promote the beer maker, post our stuff and throw it out there. Share everything that we try to brew so people can
And
taste.
we will too when we get our beer maker.
There we go.
See, she said it this time, not
Just
me.
getting it right in
We're
there.
really all very excited.
Yeah. The
Sorry.
the concept, just like here on Long Island, of networking is the same concept I'm sure you guys are following for your business model here, is getting it out there, getting people, awareness of it, and then, of course, having people share the brew and, seeing what the finished product is. And I think that's a testament to a great business model to have people, by word of mouth, as opposed to like this heavily advertised kind of thing. You really have hit the mark on, that grassroots movement. Give us, again, that whole concept of where people can find it, where people can get it. We'll throw in the promo code. I think it's the Wort 2021. If you're looking to get a promo code for a discounted beer maker. And go ahead, take it away, Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. So beermaker.com, BEERMKR.com. And obviously use coupon code the Wort 2021, and you'll get a bunch of dollars off of your beer maker. We are continually trying to bring more beer makers to more people in different places around the world. We're getting ready to start shipping to the places like Canada and Europe. So very exciting to be in that process. But yeah, the absolute best place is on beermaker.com and our Facebook and Instagram. And I have to give a huge shout out to our owners group on Facebook. We have got, I think we have almost like 1,000 people, of people who have been, either Kickstarter backers or early adopters of it. They're just online talking with each other, sharing recipes, and trying to figure out the best ways to use, this ingredient, or, I had, this weird flavor in here, what could that possibly be? And then, so it's this incredible community that, you can become a part of. So look forward to sharing it with everybody whenever they can get on with the beer maker trip.
That's it.
Get that Dunko done, brother.
Oh, yeah. We can't wait.
Yeah.
And I think
feel
that's
kind of slighted that you guys didn't share your beer with us when we shared
well,
ours.
I mentioned at the top of the show that we didn't have the timetable right. Our beer wasn't ready until Sunday afternoon before we get out to you. All right, well, we'll get you something.
Next batch.
Something. Yeah, next batch. We got plenty of batches to go. Like I said, I got the Jurassic Ale ingredient bag here ready to go.
Nice.
So when we get that, I'll get it out to you guys. Don't worry about that. Wait, Sheila, is Long Island going to go to AC Beer Fest?
Yes, we are.
Oh, so you know what?
Going.
We're gonna have a shit ton of good times. Did you see that musical lineup?
I'm so excited just to be back at an actual beer fest. I can't even believe it.
I can't amazing.
Yeah,
AC Beer
Fest.
We were
so disappointed last year. Everything was canceled, but it's going to be a good time.
AC Beer Fest, June 4th, 5th, and 6th at Bader Field Outdoor Beer Fest, happening in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Join us, and of course, Sheila and Long Island, broadcasting live from the fest. We're going to have a great time over the course of those 2.5 to 3 days. And, of course, go out there and get your beer maker. And we may even have a batch of beer ready for that festival that we can kind of have on the low. We'll promote it heavily, that's for damn sure. And really appreciate all you guys being on the show tonight, spending time with us. Thanks a lot for sharing your stories and, of course, your beer. And we're going to get out of here. Steve, some last thoughts.
Don't be a dick. Be nice.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there you go. I like it.
Pete?
Thank you guys for having us on.
Yes.
And Aaron, it was so nice to meet you. And I look forward to using the beer.
Here it comes.
Pete?
Don't forget to have your pet spayed or neutered.
This is The Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve, GovsRadio.com, and we out.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Well, that's 2 hours of your life that you'll never get back.
Are you kidding me?
Please hang up and try again.